happy Wednesday, and welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada. Kind of. You're also welcome to New Jersey today, as we'll explain in just a moment. This is Bet. She's Anita Marks. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Tyler Fulgham out on vacation, but will be back soon. Big show in store for you today. Seth Greenberg's coming up on the March Madness field. Is it possible there will be fewer than 68 teams this season? We've got selections for Pebble Beach as the PGA Tour heads north, and we've got our NBA Wednesday night pick'em. Anita, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Yeah, listen, New Jersey doesn't sound as sexy as Vegas. I'm a little, I don't know. I'm a little embarrassed. Hopefully I can live up to the Vegas hype of Bet in the show. Let's go.
I mean, St. Patty's Day is right around the corner. I know what it's like in Hoboken for that weekend. I've spent a few days there, but we won't dive into that today. YouTube.com/ESPN Sports Betting is where to go if you're looking for more additional content. Doug Kazarian and I, the host of Daily Wager, we are going to talk about Trevor Lawrence, his odds to go number one, and the NFL draft later today. That'll be up on YouTube.com/ESPN Sports Betting very soon. All right, Anita, it's Wednesday, which means we start with a little segment called Let It Ride or Cash Out. Here's the premise. I will make a statement. If you agree with that statement, you will let it ride. If you disagree, you will cash out. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. Buccaneers 31, Chiefs 9 was your final on Sunday in Super Bowl 55. Let it ride or cash out. Neither the Chiefs or the Buccaneers will make it back to the Super Bowl next season.
I'm going to cash out here. One thing about two teams that make it to the Super Bowl, they don't lose a lot of coaches, right? Because a lot of vacancies fill up as soon as the regular season is over. So you've got two excellent teams. Tom Brady's coming back. Hopefully Patrick Mahomes' toe will heal. Hopefully their offensive line will be healthier as they get, of course, into the postseason. And they're not losing anyone. They're not losing the head coach. They're not losing their coordinators. And when you look around both the AFC and the NFC, and what was it last week, Joe, right? Adam Schefter came out and said that he's anticipating over 18 quarterback changes in the NFL. If we're going to have that much turbulence, and I'll call it turbulence, man, for two teams that are going to be locked and reloaded coming in the AFC, maybe Kansas City needs to be concerned about the Bills and the Ravens. In the NFC, maybe Green Bay, of course, we're expecting Aaron Rodgers to turn down that job for Jeopardy and go back to being the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. The Rams, if Washington gets a quarterback, the Saints, you know I love Taysom Hill. But, man, I expect at least one of these teams to be back in the big dance next year.
I like it a lot. You and I are in agreement on the first one out of the gate. Let's start with this. Over the last 20 years, Tom Brady has appeared in half the Super Bowls that have been played. Half. It's a coin flip whether Brady's going to be there or not. In addition, the Chiefs have gone 44-12 over the last 3 seasons. That includes the postseason. So maybe one of them doesn't get back, but I'm not betting that both miss out. Bill Walsh had a famous comment back in the day when there were only, I want to say, maybe 30 teams in the NFL. Says you're not competing against 29 other teams. You're really only competing against 8 or so. You have teams that are going through rebuilds, like the Philadelphia Eagles. You have teams that are awful every single year, like the Detroit Lions, for example, right? It's not Kansas City versus 31. It's not Tampa Bay versus 31. It's really maybe half the league that you have to worry about. So when you look at the odds of one of these two getting back, in addition to the fact that the competition isn't as stiff as we make it out to be, yeah, I'll bet that one of them gets back. Oh, by the way, new policy, I'm done betting against Tom Brady. I had made that mistake in every single playoff game I bet against him. It's only Wednesday following the Super Bowl. I'm not immediately going to bet against him here. So that's where we are on number one. Let it ride or cash out, number two. Currently 11-14 and in 13th place in the Western Conference, the Dallas Mavericks will not make the playoffs.
I say let it ride. All right, a lot of hype going into this NBA season. That's right, I hear the sound effect. A lot of hype going into this NBA season for the Dallas Mavericks because of what we saw them do last season. But this is a different team. Listen, Luka is still otherworldly, right? He's toying with triple doubles every time he steps on the hardwood. But I'm here in New York. There's a reason why the Knicks gave up on Porzingis. and that's because he can't stay healthy. So he's healthy right now, and they've got a great run going at it right now. In fact, I like them tonight, but I don't know if KP can stay healthy for the longevity of the season. On top of that, they are struggling from downtown, and as we both know, you know, that's what this league is about, all right? It's not so much as being strong in the paint, it's knocking down those threes, and I want to say they're just over, 34% on the season. So I'm going to say let it ride here. What say you, Joe?
All right, a little bit of a disagreement, which can be a healthy thing between you and I, because it normally leads to someone winning a bottle of wine, as we tend to go back and forth on these wagers. I'm going to cash out. Of 72 games to be played in the regular season, Dallas has 47 left. So there's no need to panic here. They've got one of the best players in the world in Luka Doncic. They've got one of the best coaches, one of the most consistent, successful coaches in the NBA in Rick Carlisle, and they have a very aggressive owner in Mark Cuban. He wants to win. So there's the opportunity down the line of a trade or something happening to bolster the team. They're not going to sell off. If anything, they're going to bolster. So that's 3 reasons why I'm going to look to them to still make the playoffs. In addition, you rip off a 4-game winning streak, you rip off a 5-game winning streak, you can jump over just about everyone that's ahead of you, at least in terms of getting to the playoffs. They're 3 games under. The Warriors are holding the 8th spot at 1 game over, so it's not a huge gap, and I don't think the teams in front of them are all that much more talented. And then finally, remember this year, it's not just 8 teams going to the playoffs. 7 through 10 have that whole play-in tournament, which gives them an opportunity. They don't have to finish in 8th. They can finish in 9th and still find their way in. A long shot in that scenario, sure, but it gives them better odds. I will go ahead and cash out on that. Number 3, as we turn our attention to college hoops, let it ride or cash out. The 19-0 Gonzaga Bulldogs will go undefeated and win the NCAA tournament.
I say let it ride, baby. I mean, let's really break it down, right? I mean, this team, number 1 offensively, as well as number 1 defensively. 64% shooting percentage offensively. Defensively, they're only allowing 90 points a game. On top of that, they only have quite a few games left. 3 games left? Their most difficult opponents they've already faced, right? UVA, West Virginia, Iowa, Kansas. Now, they're going to go into their tournament. They're going to be the number 1 seed. Only going to have to play two wins to win their conference tournament. What does that mean? I think we're in agreement here. Going into the March Madness, the big dance, they're going to get the number 1 overall seed. Hopefully, in regard to where they're going to be placed, they'll have the easiest road to get to the Final Four, to get to the championship, and they are the best team. So I'm going to let it ride. I mean, I've been really impressed with this team so far. I say they can go undefeated. I think it'd be a lot of fun watching it happen.
All right, another bottle of wine on the line. I am going to cash out in this scenario. I learned my lesson the hard way back in 14-15 with that Karl Anthony Towns-led Kentucky team. They were incredible, and I was on the radio in San Francisco running my mouth for months about how they were going undefeated. I could not stop running my mouth. It was borderline arrogant. It wasn't borderline arrogant, it was arrogant. It was obnoxious. And then I watched them lose to Wisconsin in the Final Four, and I thought, never again. Never again. Now, maybe they win the tournament. Them and Baylor have been fantastic this year. And they do have a relatively soft schedule down the stretch to close the season. But the chance of just one hiccup happening somewhere along the line, especially when they do run into Baylor, who's a fantastic team, it gives me pause. I have to learn from my obnoxious ways in the past, and I will cash out. But if they do it, I'm not going to be the least bit surprised. Remember something, when it comes to overs and big proclamations, COVID has me worried. It can derail a team, a season, a sport like that. So I'm always going to err, I think, on the side of caution here. But again, this is not one that I am very, very hell-bent on. All right, nice job, Anita. The first one through. I'd lean to you. I think you did a very nice job there. But let's pivot. As we're talking college hoops, who better to bring onto the show than a man who was named Coach of the Year in the ACC twice? ESPN college hoops analyst Seth Greenberg joining us here on Bet. Seth, we appreciate the time, first and foremost. You look fantastic. I want you to take a look at something here right out of the gate. The number 1 and number 2 seeds in college basketball are fantastic. According to Joe Lunardi, Gonzaga 19-0, Baylor 17-0, a combined 36-0 on the season. They've separated themselves from the pack in virtually every statistical category. However, if those two teams are to fall in March by some stretch, who's a potential sleeper you could see winning the whole thing?
I've got three sleepers for you. First and foremost, when you look at it, I like this Rutgers team. Rutgers is the sleeper of all sleepers. You say Rutgers, they haven't been to the NCAA tournament since I had hair on my head. But this is a different Rutgers team. I'm talking about Rutgers. I'm talking about Jim Valvano's Rutgers team. They're big. They're physical. You're talking about Ron Harper Jr. He's a big guard that can get in the lane and make plays. You're talking about Geo Baker, who makes big shots at the end of the games. Miles Johnson's been terrific. They defend, they rebound the basketball. I like Florida State. Now, they've been on pause. But you talk about Florida State, strength in numbers. And they've got a couple guys that are difference makers. You talk about Scotty Barnes, a 6'9" point guard. You talk about Raekwon Gray, a 6'8" power forward who could also be a point forward. Talking about shot makers and MJ Walker. You know that Florida State's going to defend. You know they're going to rebound the basketball. You know they're going to wear you down with numbers. Then finally, Ohio State. Ohio State is playing as efficiently as any team in the Big Ten right now. Ohio State, they've got depth, they've got versatility, and they've got skilled players. They've also got experience. 7 of their top 9 are juniors and seniors. 2 of those guys are fifth-year seniors. What's going to win the NCAA tournament this year? Upperclassmen, because exactly what you guys were talking about. With the pandemic, with the adversity, with basically understanding that you got to have patience, you got to have multiple plans, and you got to react to the different things that are going to happen. Those veteran teams have a huge advantage because they have shared experience, they have toughness, and they've got maturity.
All right, Seth, as we get closer to March Madness, what can we realistically expect in this big dance and in this tournament? Do you expect all 68 teams to really make the tournament? Are you expecting 68?
I am expecting 68 because if someone tests out, to play in the tournament, you've got to have 7 consecutive days of negative tests. But what the NCAA is going to do is they've got that group of that were supposed to or allegedly going to play in the NIT, something I know a little bit about. All right. And that group, if someone tests out, they're just going to slide in. And as they see the NIT teams, they're going to slide those teams into the NCAA tournament field. So I think we will have a field of 68. I think we're going to be in Indianapolis. I know we're going to be in Indianapolis. We're going to have protocol. And there's 3 things you got to have. You got to have patience, you got to have multiple plans, and you've got to have protocol. And the protocol will be in place so that in case someone does test positive, as the start of the tournament, you can slide someone in. Once you start the tournament, you're going to finish the tournament. Now, could someone potentially maybe eliminate themselves by having a positive test later on? Possibly, but we're going to have 68 teams in the field.
Seth, I read an article this week that said this year's Kentucky team couldn't win 6 games in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, or SWAC. That's where Prairie View sits atop the mountain. They're perfect, I believe, 6-0 in conference. Now, extreme exaggeration aside, what are the major problems plaguing Coach Cal's Wildcats this year?
In a pandemic year, they started the season. They didn't have one guy to start the season, first and foremost, that ever put on a Kentucky uniform. 2, they lost this summer. All right, and the summer is kind of the time of the year where those young players, when you have all those McDonald's All-Americans come in, they better understand how hard you have to work, what type of teammate you need to be, how to play with other good players, understand what it is to put on that Kentucky uniform. Then the fall comes. Limited access, no exhibition games, no guarantee games to gain that confidence. And the most important thing is they have no guards. You think about Kentucky, you think of 1 or 2 things. They either have a play starter and a playmaker that makes the game easy for everyone else, or they have someone they can play through. Think about all the great players who play through. You can play through Karl Anthony Towns. Point guards and guard play, you talk about John Wall. You talk shot makers, you talk about Devin Booker. I mean, you can go down the list all along the way. They don't have anyone that looks like that. Here's the deal. Not all McDonald's All-Americans are built the same. That's just the way it is. Their guard play has been horrific. They're turning over 21% of their possessions. That's a problem. They can't shoot it straight. And because at the end of the game, because they don't have that guard, that dynamic offensive player, that dynamic post player, that dynamic shot maker, they are absolutely really struggling the last 4 minutes of the game. And that's just the deal. It's going to happen. People say, well, John Calipari, he's losing it. Let's put it this way. Everyone get your licks in now. Because the last time I checked, all the dude does is win games. This year, it's an aberration. It's not who they are. It's who they are in this moment in time. John Calipari coaches his guys. They play hard. Some of those guys will stick around. He'll add players, and Kentucky will be back. They are the standard in the SEC. Just look at the history. It's real simple. Last year, they had a team that could have made a deep run. So now people can say the last 2 years they haven't been very good. Last year they were fine. They won another SEC conference last year. This year they're a bad basketball team. Duke's a bad basketball team. Oh, by the way, they both are relying on freshmen that just are not ready to compete at the level you need to compete in a pandemic, dealing with all the adversity and everything these kids have to go through.
All right, Seth, again, looking at the tournament, 6 of the top 10 heading into the tournament as of right now have ever won a championship, including Baylor, Gonzaga as well. Is this the first year that maybe we see a team, or is this the year that we see a team win for the first time?
Yeah, I think it is. And, so a lot of people say, do you take Gonzaga against the field? And other people say, do you take Baylor against the field? Well, if you've got Baylor and Gonzaga against the field, you have two teams that have separated themselves. Now, the one team I'd be a little worried about is Michigan. I think Michigan, but they've been on pause. We haven't seen Michigan in a month. But Michigan's built because they have two upper-class point guards, so they take care of the basketball. They got two big athletic wing guys that can score at Franz Wagner, obviously Isaiah Livers, and they got the immovable object. But, yeah, this is the year. I think that you've got Baylor, you've got Gonzaga. Don't sleep on Illinois, maybe the best inside-out combination in college basketball with Ayo Dosunmu and Kofi Cockburn. I mean, those guys have been terrific. Dosunmu the other last weekend has a triple-double. You got Texas Tech and you got Houston. Houston's an interesting one. They had a bad loss against ECU, but they're an elite defensive team. They're an elite offensive rebounding team. The American Conference has been down, but they have a toughness about them. They're hard to prepare for because they're so good defensively. Texas Tech the same. So I would say I would take those 6 against the field, and I'd feel pretty comfortable about having a team that's going to win a national championship.
Two-time ACC Coach of the Year, ESPN College Hoops analyst Seth Greenberg, kind enough to join us here on Bet. Seth, fantastic job, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
All right, here's where the show gets a little dangerous. Since Anita's in for Tyler, we're going to go to the world of golf, which is absolutely her wheelhouse.
Yes!
So reluctantly, I will be making picks against the Queen, and we'll see how it all shakes down. Anita, the PGA Tour, returns to Pebble Beach this week. The Pro-Am, which will be without the Pro-Am due to COVID concerns. Dustin Johnson has withdrawn. We don't have a single member of the top 10 on tour playing this week. So we've got some opportunity here to take some shots down the field. Before we get to a prop we like, who do you like to win this thing?
I like Patrick Cantlay a lot, and I liked him even before Dustin Johnson left this tournament. He's a Cali kid. He knows this course extremely well. Weather conditions are supposed to be windy. Keep in mind, they're in Monterey, so those windy conditions, especially when you're playing Pebble, they're going to be playing 2 different golf courses, Pebble and Spyglass. They'll alternate those on Thursday and Friday, and then Pebble on Saturday and Sunday. And man, when that wind comes whipping off the coast, it is something to deal with. Also, they're going to be the surface that they're going to be putting on is POA, and that is a surface that Patrick Cantlay excels at. And some of his metrics here: 20th in strokes gained tee to green, 5th in scrambling. You're going to need that this weekend as well, and 38th in putting. And again, like I said, he putts really well on the surface. So I like Cantlay. Also, here's a fun one for you, Joe. How about straight forecast? Cantlay as well as Will Zalatoris. I'm going to get into him in a second. I like him finishing in the top 5, but you can bet that they're going to finish first and second at 135-1. How fun is that?
All right, now that was smart because I was about to blow you up for picking the favorite in this tournament, but if you're going to throw me 135-1 shot at the end, I'm going to go ahead and throttle back. I love the grass analysis. That's something they do a lot of in California, from what I understand. Wink, wink. All right, if I'm going to give you one, I'm going to go down the board. 33-1, Kevin Streelman. He loves this event. 5 years in a row, he's finished in the top 20. He's got 4 career top 10s at Pebble, and he finished runner-up last year, second place. One area where Streelman exceeds, is on the approach. 14th on tour in greens and regulation. What does that mean? At a course like Pebble, which isn't super long, the approach is going to be very important. As we rotate courses throughout the course of the year, there are different statistics that mean more. Strokes gained, tee to green is always important, but the approach this week is something you got to keep an eye on. Streelman's got a solid approach game. One of the reasons he's had a lot of success here. At 33-1, I'm going to take a shot, especially since none of the top 10 is in the field this week. Now, you alluded to some other selections you like. What else do you want to give the people?
Yeah, so Will Zalatoris, I'm calling this young man because he's a rookie this year.
You love this guy. You love this guy. You've been on him every week.
I love this guy. He's the human ATM machine for golf gamblers this season. Always put money down that he's going to finish in the top 20, top 10, top 5. Heck, every now and then, I do believe he wins a tournament this year. He's just unbelievable. His game checks all the boxes. He's got the distance. He's got the iron play. He putts extremely well. So I call him Willie Z. I'm giving him that nickname. You heard it here first, Willie Z. I like him to finish in the top 5. And like I said, I do have him as that straight forecast, Cantlay and Willie Z. But you talked about Streelman. I love Streelman. This track fits him to a T. Just to give you some metrics, he's 5th in driving accuracy, and you're going to need that, especially on Spyglass. They've got a lot of tree-lined fairways. 14th in greens in regulation this season. The thing about Pebble Beach is that their greens are extremely small, and when I mean small, I mean small. And also, they're very solid. So it's really important. I mean, I like to call it, you got to shoot darts, right? And you want to be as close to the hole as possible. So I really like Streelman, again, to finish in the top 20. One of my favorite plays. So I like him as well, Joe.
All right, I'm with you on that. That's actually plus money, I believe. Top 20 is something around plus 150, plus 175. We wrote about it for
plus
Chalk
175. Plus 175.
ESPN Chalk, check it out. All of our selections are up. They don't tee off until tomorrow, so you got plenty of time to get them in. You, me, the Bear, everybody. All right, I like 4-round matchup plays, and I'm going to take Max Homa, not to be confused with Hova. Max Homa over Ricky Fowler. This is a two-pronged attack. Number one, Fowler has not been playing very well. And when I'm handicapping golf, I like to look for the golfers that are playing poorly before I look to the golfers who are playing well. Fowler hasn't played in this specific event since 2012 when he missed the cut. Now, he was here for the U.S. Open a couple years ago. He finished, I believe, 42nd, so it wasn't anything to get too excited about. And he's in poor form as of late. He's missed 2 cuts in his last 4 starts, including last week at the Waste Management Open in Phoenix. So it's a bet against on Fowler, but it's also a bet on when it comes to Homa. California kid, like you mentioned earlier with some of your analysis when it came to Cantlay. He played his golf at Cal. He loves Pebble Beach. His last 2 starts here, he finished tied for 10th 2 years ago, tied for 14th last year, and he's made the cut 4 straight times in his last 4 events. So he's in good form. He likes the course. Fowler's not in good form. He doesn't like the course. Homa over Fowler. Any thoughts on that before we rock and roll to the NBA?
I love it. I love that play. And full disclosure, I know I've shared this with you on Daily Wager. Ricky Fowler is hands down my favorite golfer. In fact, I have a scooter, you know, the scooters that you scoot around your neighborhood in, and it's all orange, and I named it Ricky, for Ricky Fowler. I mean, that's how much I love Ricky Fowler, but you're absolutely right. I mean, and I hate to say this, but ever since he's gotten married, Joe, he hasn't won anything.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it's the truth. So I want him to do well, but you're absolutely right. He's having a lot of issues with his putter, and like I said, you need to putt well at Pebble in order to win. So I like that matchup play a lot. I think you're on point. It's spot on.
All right, let's make some money on golf this weekend. Let's make some money tonight on the NBA as we transition to our NBA Wednesday night pick'em. We're gonna rock and roll through 5 games here. We're gonna start with the Dallas Mavericks. They're laying 4, total of 232.5 as they host the Atlanta Hawks. You can go side, total, prop. Where you heading?
I like Luka. Listen, we know the storyline between Luka and Trae, right? Like, it will forever haunt them for their entire careers and every time they match up against each other. This is on a national stage. He's averaging 28 points a game. And his last matchup, he put up 27 points against them. And, you know, this is a Hawks defense. They are middle of the road when it comes to pace of game as well as defensive efficiency. So I think Luka puts on a show. I like the over of 28.5 points for him tonight.
All right, I'm going to lay the 4 with the Mavericks in this situation. They had lost 6 straight, but they look like they're finding a groove just a bit. They've won 3 of their last 4. And if you go back to February 3rd, they went to Atlanta and played the Hawks. They beat them by 6, but in that game, Atlanta shot 50% from 2-point range, while Dallas shot 39% from 3. So you're winning the game by 6 on the road despite a poor shooting night when the opponent has a good shooting night. I like that translating here while laying 4 points. Remember something with Atlanta, 2 and 4 in their last 6 road games. Not a huge sample, but that's 2-4 straight up and 2-4 against the spread. And the only two teams they beat were Minnesota and Washington, two of the worst teams in the NBA. So I'm going to lay it with Dallas tonight. Game number 2, it's the Brooklyn Nets laying 1.5, total of 235. They're home. They're hosting the Indiana Pacers. What do you got?
Really quick before we go to that, you could have Luka over points and Dallas wins for 2-1. I just want to throw that out there. I just want you to marinate in that for a minute. But let's talk about the Nets.
Yes.
Can their defense get any worse? I mean, especially with no Kevin Durant, and he's going to be out again tonight. They're just also awful. They lose to Detroit by 11 points, but I'm going with a prop bet here. I'm going with Sabonis over 23.5 points. Again, like I said, the defense is horrible, especially against centers. The last 6 games, the Nets have given up the most points in the paint to opposing centers. So Sabonis over 23.5 points. Take that to the bank. It's probably my favorite bet tonight. I might make it my best bet on Daily Wager. I just might, Joe.
I like it. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, Daily Wager, ESPN 2 will be there. I am going to take the 1.5 with the Indiana Pacers here. Brooklyn stinks right now. They've dropped 4 of 5, including last night at Detroit. So this is the second half of a back-to-back. They don't have Durant. Harden played 39 minutes last night. Irving played 35 minutes last night. And this defense, as you mentioned, is atrocious. They've given up 120 or more points in 7 straight games. Indiana hasn't played since a loss on Sunday. They're rested. They're ready to go. I'll take the Dogs. I like them on the money line as well. Game number 3, Zion and the New Orleans Pelicans laying 2.5, total of 229.5. They're hosting the Chicago Bulls. They are in Chicago taking on the Bulls.
Yeah, I love the Pelicans here. I think this very well could be a blowout. I mean, this is a Pelicans team offensively. They are on the rise. As for the Bulls, they've lost 6 of their last 8. Also, keep in mind, a blowout for the Pelicans last night against Houston. So a lot of their starters, including Zion didn't play more than 21 minutes. So I love the Pelicans here, -3, -2.5. Take them. This has the potential. I smell a blowout here. Love New Orleans.
I'm kind of with you. I like the over in this matchup tonight. New Orleans is on this 4-game winning streak, during which time the games they're playing are averaging a total of 227 points per game. So that's not what we need tonight, but they've come against teams that all rank in the top 16 in defensive efficiency and play at a slower pace. Chicago's defense is awful, and they're 3rd in pace. They're going to be flying up and down the court. I think the Pelicans will buy into that a little bit. I'm predicting shootout. We're going over 229.5. Game number 4, Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. This is going to be the game of the night. They're laying 4.5, total of 226.5 in Phoenix against Devin Booker and the Suns. What are you thinking?
You say Giannis, I say Middleton. Double-double, baby, for +375. Dare I say that Middleton is the better player right now than Giannis for the Bucks? I think I just did. Holiday's out. He had 12 assists yesterday. I love Middleton. I love his game right now. He is the straw that is stirring that Bucks drink. Double-double for Middleton tonight.
I like it. I'm going to play the over in this matchup at 226.5. Both teams are playing great basketball as of late. Milwaukee's won and covered 5 straight, and they've done it by an average of 20 points per game. They're blowing people out. Phoenix has been no slouch either. 6-1 straight up, 6-1 against the spread over their last 7. Now, the focal point will be on Phoenix's defense. They play at a slow pace, and they have a top 10 defense, but the Bucks play at a lightning fast pace. They score a ton of points. Their defensive rating is down from last year. I think the Bucks are going to get the Suns to engage in their style of basketball rather than the Suns getting the Bucks to engage in their style of basketball. Maybe the Suns win, maybe they don't, but I think it's going to be a furious pace tonight. I'm going over 226.5. Final game on the card. LeBron and the Lakers laying 12. Total of 217 against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
All right, drop the mic. I'm going LeBron triple-double, baby, at +450. The Lakers need to stop toying with cellar dwellers. The Thunder, a lot of injuries here. LeBron goes off tonight. I'm going triple-double. I love this play at +450. Why the heck not, Joe?
I love it. I am betting against the line move. It's been coming down on the total. I'm going to be playing the over at 217. They scored 220 points in regulation the other night. OKC shot 39% from 2-point range. 31% from deep. The Lakers shot 23% from deep. If there's any sort of positive regression tonight, I think it soars over the total. Over 217. I'm against the line move. But that's a wrap. Anita, fantastic. Thank you so much for filling in for Tyler. You did an amazing job as always, although that's not to be expected. Thank you for watching Daily Wager, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you on ESPN 2. Bye, everyone.